Hi everyone, my name is Zoe Alonic. I'm honored to introduce Dickon Isaacs. He is an award-winning designer and business leader who is passionate about STEM and sharing his knowledge with the next generation of innovators. He has led teams for global design companies like EDO, Motorola, Intuit, and his own agency. Dickon has designed over 1,000 products and holds over 100 patents for innovations related to smartphones, smartwatches, medical devices, furniture, cookware, and precision imaging. His work can be found in the permanent collections of MoMA, New York, Design Museum London, and Art Institute of Chicago. Please welcome the Chief Creator Office at Box Clever, whose mission is to harness design to make a positive impact on the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Zoe. And thanks to all the organizers of this event. It's pretty amazing to put on something like this, and it's lovely to give some time back. So hopefully we have some fun today. So hello, and thanks for showing up. So this is me, a really big picture of me. As you heard, I'm the Chief Creative Officer at a design agency based in San Francisco. And there's a small collection of some of the products that I've designed over the years down here. If you want to check them out at the end, that's why I brought them in, so you can see the sort of the quality that goes into designing world-class products. A very brief history of my path and how that might relate to where you guys are right now in your journey. So I grew up in England and then moved to London and then Chicago and San Francisco, and I've had the real joy of traveling the world and designing for different companies and organizations. I'm not sure how much you all know about how design companies are structured, so this is a really simple breakdown. So there are small companies, which are called consultancies, and they're typically 50 people and below. That means that you work in a small team. That means that you actually get a lot of responsibility early on in your career, working on projects, traveling, meeting clients, presenting, really being responsible for developing those products. There are larger global agencies. There's one agency called IDEO, which started in Palo Alto, so just down the road. I worked for them in London and then Palo Alto and San Francisco. I was there for about 10 years and ended up running their design group globally, and had a lot of fun, and also learned that there's an awful lot of different career paths in design, and that's hopefully what we can touch on a little bit today as well. And then there are corporations. So obviously we're in Silicon Valley, so there's some of the biggest corporations in the world, and I've also been able to have the joy of working for some of them. So I worked at Intuit down the road. I used to lead their advanced design futures group, looking at new technology, including AR and VR, in terms of how that can be applied in their business. And worked at Motorola for 10 years, designing some of the leading sort of breakthrough technologies, both in wearables. I've got a couple of examples of the products that we designed down here, and accessories, Bluetooth, speakers, a lot of really cool sort of innovative science, technology, engineering, math-based problems. I now run a small studio, and we'll show some of the work in a bit. It takes a village to design really amazing products, and so one of the things that I think is really important to understand is design is really inclusive as a profession. I've worked with people from all over the world, and currently our team is a mix, pretty 50-50 of men and women from all over the world. There's about 15, 16 of us right now. Okay, so I want to talk to you about the power of design. And I have a quiz in the middle of this session as well, so hopefully that can be a little interactive. So the way I think about design is a way to see the world, but it's also a passport to sort of travel and explore the world as well. And so that means exploring different cultures, exploring places that go far beyond, small Los Altos and where you live right now. So here's an extremely brief history of kind of going from being born in this tiny little town in England in the far southwest. The population was about half of what Los Altos is, so only about 10,000 people. And at the time I loved art and math, science, soccer, music, normal stuff. From there, for those of you that know what England looks like, at the bottom south end of England. I studied art and design. I think I traveled, about 25 minutes from the hometown that I grew up. So I went to this art college, which was really amazing. It gave me the ability to learn about the foundational components of design. So I learned about ceramics and glass blowing, printmaking. So three-dimensional design, graphic design. I started to learn sort of digital design. So back then the technology was pretty primitive. Now it's absolutely amazing. And then that gave me a foundation to realize that there was this thing called industrial design, which was about making physical things and making really beautiful physical things that people fall in love with. So I went and studied industrial design. Quick show of hands. Who's heard of industrial design as a profession? A few? Oh, that's cool. Well, thank you. If you haven't, go check it out. Hopefully you'll learn from today. So I was there for 4 years, obviously a lot bigger. So I went to Newcastle. For those of you that are into soccer, Newcastle United, pretty passionate fan base there. Really great city to learn about design. And, a city of like 300,000 people. So I went from this small town to hopefully you'll do the same thing in your journeys. You'll experience more cultures, you'll meet more people. Your friend groups will expand. And through those conversations, your view of the world will start to broaden. And from there, I landed my first job. So I worked in London. I was there for 3 years before I moved to America. And obviously, in London, it's like 10 million people. So to go from 10,000 in a small little village to 10 million was quite the jump. But that's really important because it shapes sort of how I started to understand the world. So London, of course, is one of the most amazing cosmopolitan cities in the world. Who's been to London? All right, who wants to go to London who hasn't been? Yeah, okay. Make sure you go. Tell your parents next year. All right, so in London, here's a small example of like design at that point in time. Design was everywhere and it was everything. So everything has to be designed. So everything that you see that's been printed, everything that you see that's been made, every form of transportation, someone has had to design and engineer those things. So the built environment, the chairs that you're sitting in right now, the stage that I'm standing on, this microphone, these all have to be designed by someone. And London is just this incredible melting pot of fashion and culture and design in all forms. So it was the perfect place to go. From there, I moved to Chicago. I hopped on a plane, and I started designing for IDEO and Motorola. So I've got a couple of examples. These are the smartwatches here. There are two sizes, a men and a women's, that we designed. This is the final packaging. So we designed the product, the packaging, and it's ground up innovation. So I have a quiz for you later about how long it took to design that. And while I was there, so I moved to Chicago, and Chicago was very different than London. I mean, it's America versus England, so that's a big change. You go into a supermarket, there are like 25 different types of milk. You're like, what do I do? In Chicago, there's a sense of modernism. So there's this old world that you see in the architecture in the top right-hand corner, and then in this middle image here, this is a famous building called the Farnsworth House, designed by this incredible architect and designer called Mies van der Rohe. Absolutely stunning. And the concept was about bringing the environment, the nature into the home, so that the home and the building connect, rather than traditional homes that windows are very small and you're sort of secluded from nature. And so this idea of modernism actually influenced the work that we did. So this smartphone down here, I didn't design this, but this is sort of the legacy of the team that I built in Chicago. This is the latest Razor that launched earlier this year. Okay, and there I moved to San Francisco, out here to Bay Area, and worked at Intuit, doing things that were more about sort of the future and digital. And now I'm at Bots Clever, and I'll show you some of that work. So design is everywhere, and everything has to be designed. So you probably don't realize it, but the light switch that you turn on when you walk into a room, and hopefully you turn it off for your parents. Hopefully you turn it off when you leave the room. That has to be designed, it has to be engineered. There are choices about the size and proportion and shape. That shape has to communicate something to someone so they understand how to use it. How do I turn a light on and off? You take that for granted now because you've done it thousands and thousands of times. But at the first time when someone's seeing that, you need to understand what to do. So some of these basic objects like a light switch and a door handle, they still have to communicate. And so there's this part of design called semantics, and product semantics are about an object communicating to someone how to interact with it. Okay, design really starts with people, understanding people. So this ties back to sort of talking about the journey, going to new cultures, traveling the world, meeting other people, understanding other perspectives on the world, really are important in understanding who you're designing products for, and that's software and hardware. So there's lots of careers in design. All the examples up here are examples of design that I've led with our team at Box Clever. So they're a mixture of purely physical brand identities, hardware and digital design, and then this app down here that I'll touch on a little bit more. So again, quick show of hands. Is there a career in here that you've heard of that you can identify with? Yeah, a few? Okay, awesome. Are there some of these careers here that your parents do, or you think they do? Yeah, a few? Awesome. Great. So obviously the point here is there are so many different avenues that you can take for design that the page isn't long enough. But obviously industrial design, research, user experience, packaging design, which you'll see here, graphic design, branding, digital. I won't read them off, but there's an awful long list. And so if you're interested in the arts, if you're interested in science and technology, and if you're looking for understanding what potential career paths there are for you, there's a lot, which is good news, right? You don't have to narrow too early as well. And I would say my own journey started with industrial design, but probably for the last 15 years, I've led teams and I've led businesses. And so my foundation is industrial design, but like my own path has touched on all of these things here, either doing those things directly or working with really brilliant people. And so that's what's really fun. You get to work with really smart people along the way. Okay, so I get this question a lot. So how do you design things? And so a couple of principles that might be interesting for you. Being curious, really important. Just have your eyes open, maybe take your earpods off now and again, listen to the world around you. Understanding people, like understanding people's behavior, understanding how they think, why they think, understanding what people need. If you take time to do that, if you're curious, if you ask people questions, when they give you an answer, don't just accept it, say why, like probe a little bit deeper. Use your own research to get to the heart of really opportunities to really be innovative. You have to work well in teams if you want to be in design. You can't design these things in isolation. It just takes too many people with too many levels of expertise, but the good news is you do get to work with brilliant minds. Fail early and often and make things. These are sort of combined, and why I'm wearing this t-shirt. You basically have to go through this process. So this is design thinking. You make something, you give it to people, you learn, you think, it didn't work. Well, that's okay, because you learned what didn't work. And then you try again, and you make a new thing that's a little bit, hopefully a little bit better. And then you learn something else. And then you try again. And you keep doing that process, refinement, iteration, fail, learn, fail, learn, fail, learn. And at the end, you end up with absolutely gorgeous products. So in this project, I'm just going to show you a little bit of process because you probably haven't seen this sort of thing, or maybe some of you have. So this is a mixture of early mock-ups that are a mixture of 3D printed objects we do a lot of that at work. Some card, and then these final products over here on the left. And I'll just show you for two of them the process. So it starts with sketching. You like design a pizza wheel, a pizza cutter. So if you don't cut yourself, I'll hand this around. You can pass this around and go check it out. Okay, so one of the things that we wanted to do with this project was to make sure that for all of the gadgets, that they didn't look like this, which is most people's drawers at home in the kitchen. Show of hands for the parents. Does your gadget drawer look like that? Yeah, sorry. It's okay. So yeah, we start with sketching and we start to understand how this object works with people, like what's important. So safety from the blade is really important. Being able to get purchase and be able to really cut through that pizza if you overcooked it a little bit and it's extra crusty. And from those sketches, we just make lots and lots of mock-ups. Now, honestly, we probably made about 200, but I just wanted to show you a few. So we start with things that are really primitive. This is modeling foam over on the left and card, and then we get into 3D printing, and then we made it in metal to see what it felt like, how heavy it is, and then we actually made it a little bit smaller to take some of the weight out and actually make it fit in the hand a little bit better. And so here's a lovely photograph of some pepperoni pizza. And the other one, a garlic press. I'll pass that around as well, and we'll start somewhere else. There you go. You're the lucky one. Great. All right, and so with a garlic press, you'd also think, well, it's an analog product. What's exciting about a garlic press? Well, it's exciting if you think creatively about it. So we had this idea that maybe not only it was really sort of integrated, the hinge was integrated, so you can't actually see where it hinges, which makes it more beautiful. But also, you can take it apart, and this is the world's first, it's weird, but it's the world's first garlic press that you can actually take apart, and you can put in a dishwasher and it cleans really easily. So even in the most sort of seemingly simple projects, you can find innovation, you can find breakthroughs if you just work hard enough. And at the end of the day, your drawer doesn't look like that first picture, it looks like this. So learning principles, be curious, understand people, work well in teams. Just make lots of things, fail, learn, keep doing it. And then at the end of the day, create a story, a compelling story that drives people to buy this product. All right, quiz time. So you've learned a little bit about what goes into design. So I've got 4 products, and you have to guess how long these took to develop. So I'm going to give you like a rough time. So how many people think it took 6 months to develop this product? It's a digital calendar. 6 months, roughly. Hands up? No. A year. 2 years. 3 years. 4 years. Longer than 4 years? Anyone? Okay. All right. It took a year. Now, the reason it took a year, it's technology, which normally takes a lot longer to develop, but we used existing technology. The software was already developed, which was great, but you'll see the innovation in a minute. Okay, next one. Cookware. 6 months. Show of hands. A year. 2 years. 3 years. Longer? Okay, it took 3 years, which is crazy. Wow, I know. So this is technology. You'd think this would take a lot longer than this, but here's why. There's new manufacturing processes that had to be developed, like something had never been made at this quality level before. There's also a ceramic coating on the inside of this, which means that it's really easy to clean when you're done with cooking. That's a science breakthrough. So there's material science that had to be developed, and then the manufacturing process to do that at scale also had to be done. So 3 years for this. Pretty wild. Okay, these smartwatches, so this is the world's first round smartwatch. Came out 2 years before this one that I'm wearing now. Okay, 1 year. 2 years. 3 years. 4 years. Ooh, that's a lot of people with 4 years. 5 years. Yeah, 6. All right, whoever says 6 years is correct. You got it. 6 years because there are so many failures before getting to this point. It's the world's first thing of its kind. It's really hard. So there were lots of failures, but lots of learnings. Last one, packaging. Packaging seems pretty simple. We'll do it in weeks. 1 week, 1 month, 6 months, 1 year, 5 years. Anyone? Just jumped a little bit, just make sure you're awake. So it took 2 years. What? It's cardboard. I know, it doesn't make sense. That's crazy. But this is what happened. We had a solution that we went to tooling. It was actually this beautiful glass vessel. It was gorgeous. And then the engineers tested the shelf life of the product. So can it stay fresh on the shelf if it's sitting in a store waiting for someone to buy it? And unfortunately, the glass didn't work. It was gorgeous. It was the coolest thing. But we had to change. We had to pivot. Like, we had to say, okay, that didn't work. We have to start again. So it was like a 1 year and then another year after that. Okay, that was really fun. So the main thing here, every design is born from 1,000 failures. So at school, in what you're doing, in science, engineering, technology, if you make a thing and it doesn't work, it's cool. Just learn from what didn't work. Okay, talk about it with your team, your friends, and make it better from there. So creating great design takes time. I'm going to show you a few examples. So this is the world's first robotic sprinkler system. And we design first with emotion because what we're trying to do is connect with people's emotional response. The reason you buy products is because you're on TikTok or Instagram or online or in a store and you see those things and you're drawn to them. You're emotionally drawn to purchase that thing. And so in design, in all of the choices, the shape, the form, the color, the material, how the product works, we're thinking about the emotional response that someone's going to have with that product. And we're thinking about who they are. So what's their culture? What's their demographic? What are their needs, their motivation? So it still goes back to understanding people. So from there, we develop a beautiful visual language. So this is the app that runs this system, and I'll show you how the system works. So unlike traditional sprinkler systems that are on the outside and they spray on your sidewalk and on your neighbor's fence, this operates from the middle and you create a shape, an outline of the lawn. And so there is a controller and a digital sprinkler head and then an app that controls it. And we designed everything. So if you want that, come and talk to me. I could sell you a system. Lots of details as well. So a lot of people think that design starts from the outside in. No. A lot of great design starts from the inside out. So the only reason that you could design pretty much anything here. This is a mobile card payment reader. So you can tap this and you can buy your products. That is designed from the inside first. Same with the watch. Not with that because there isn't technology inside the gadgets. But with this, we had to figure out how compact it could be and what we wanted it to do. Okay, so a couple more videos. So designing with emotion. This is a bit more esoteric. This is a bit more conceptual, so I'll try and explain it. So this is the video that we presented to the client that made them go, oh my goodness, that's it. That's the product that we want to bring to market. And so with this video, we're not showing the whole product, but we're using emotion and a story around the shadow that this creates on the wall. Because most technology, most of these digital frames, when you put them on the wall, it just looks like you put technology on the wall. So we didn't do that. We said, okay, well, let's think about the shadow that it creates on the wall, and the shadow becomes part of the environment. And we had this other innovation where the frame of this digital picture frame can be changed. So depending on your decor, you can swap it out for metal or plastic and wood, and that gives you the ability to make this match the wall color and the furniture and the overall environment that it lives in. So that's being more thoughtful about design. Okay, the packaging. This was the original plastic packaging. Not great when you're a company that says we have human and planetary impact by making better eggs from plants. So if that's your mission, but you're selling that product in single-use plastic, that's not great. So that's why they came to us. But we spoke to a lot of people. So deep research in this with material scientists, understanding transportation, and speaking to real people. So we built a store in our studio. Think about that. We built a store so people could come and shop inside our design studio. So they felt like they were in a store. They would go to refrigerators that were plugged in that were cool, that we bought and set this up. It took us about 3 months to set up this environment, but when people went through it, we could then put our prototypes on shelf in store, and those people felt like they were in a store. And so they could then respond to the design in the way that we wanted to. So it's really powerful. So using research as a powerful tool is also hopefully something you get to experience. And then that led to this packaging, which is really fun. All right, technology. So QuickBooks, they're a digital brand. They sell software. This was the first time that they ever made any hardware. So connecting the physical design to their brand was really important. So the shape comes from their logo. Seems like a simple idea. But how you execute that takes a lot of people, a lot of iteration. But you can see from the original sketch, through the prototyping, through engineering, which is the next image, and then to the final product. Really cool. So if you want to check it out, maybe I'll just hand that around as well. I'll give you something else to do for the next 5 minutes. Here you go. You want to hand that around? I'll turn it on as well. Let's see. See, it's pretty cool, right? Okay. All right. I think, yeah, this is like a slice through the product so you can see what's happening. So there's a custom LED array, there's a custom antenna, all the circuitry, like really cool. All right, we did the packaging, and then finally, so this machine takes sub-nanometer scans in both 2 dimensions and 3 dimensions. So this is pretty wild. Has anyone here heard of the company Zeiss? They make insane, like the world's best lenses. Yeah, like a couple in the back. Zeiss, incredible company. So this takes images of any object that you put in this machine that are thinner than a human hair at a resolution that you could blow up on this image on this screen and it would be pixel perfect. So this is the machine. It's about the size of a Mini. This thing is massive. But the samples that get placed in this machine can be tiny. They can be small rocks. They can be chips from NVIDIA. NVIDIA has one of these machines. And they use them to look inside objects at an extreme resolution. And then what they do is you can either take, this is the software we designed, you can either take a 2D projection scout that basically means you just take a slice. You take a slice through an object, or you take lots of images, and then this software is incredible. It builds a 3D model from all those 2D slices, compiles it together, and then it's an object that you can spin. Amazing. So we designed the software so it could be used by anybody, not experts, which is how the software was before we started. It was sort of designed, it was really engineered. It wasn't really designed. So we spoke to the users, we did our research, and from there, you can see this is pretty dense. Right? This is technically really intense, but it's intuitive to use. And so a new research student can use this machine like this, first time. Anyway, that was a lot. That was a lot of fun. I'll hand the mic over. Hopefully we can do some Q&A if we have a few minutes. Thank you. Thanks. Who do I give this to? Do I give this to you? Or do I hold this one? Okay. All right. Okay, how much time do we have for Q&A? I try to go quick.
Oh.
5 minutes?
Okay.
5 minutes? 10 minutes? Okay, I'm going to use another thing over here. Is it this?
Okay, first question.
Oh, okay.
Is it?
Can I ask how fonts? Oh, should I start? Okay. Oh.
Do you know how this works? Does anyone know how this works?
That might works, but kind of weird into
Oh, this one? Can you hear my? Oh, wow.
Awesome.
Hello.
Oh, okay. Can I ask how fonts impact your designs?
Sorry, could you ask the
Yeah, the
question
fonts
again?
of like text. How do they impact your designs and like how one can feel?
Sorry, could you ask the question one more
The
time?
fonts of text. How do
Oh, the
they?
fonts.
Yeah. Like
Oh,
how
the
do they
fonts.
impact your products and like how people feel?
Yeah, that's a great question. So if you didn't hear the question, the person asked, how do fonts influence how we think about design? So every font has a language. There are sans serif and serif fonts in simple terms. And there's a lot of history to fonts as well. So if you're really interested in graphic design and sort of the emotional quality and the communication quality of fonts, then yeah, choosing the right font is really important, especially when you think about who you're designing for. So you'll see modern brands recently, probably in the last decade, like sans serif fonts have been really popular, which is the one that you see here, the JUST. There are no sort of curly cues, there are no sort of embellishments to the font. If I go to Zeiss, their brand has a little bit more heritage, right? You can tell by the shape. It's not a true serif font, but it has a bit more of that character. So yeah, I think whenever you're designing, don't just use the default font that the computer gives you, please. Just experiment, have fun. There are like thousands of them. So that's what's cool about design. Yeah, great question. Thank you.
How much of an impact does color have on design?
Color?
Yeah.
Yeah, how much influence does color have on design? A lot. You really have to think about what the product is, the materials in which that color is going to be applied to is really important. Especially multi-material products where you've maybe got a product that's made from plastic, glass, metal, and you have to figure out like the decoration technologies. So there are experts. This is a cool profession. There are experts that focus on color, material, and finish. How cool is that? That's a job. That's amazing. I had a team at Motorola. There were 10 of them that were in Europe and Asia and in America. And all the time, every day they woke up and all they thought about was color and material and finish. So it's really important. And actually, materials and colors, as you've seen with new product launches, play into the emotional side of it as well, right? So normally when you see a new phone launch, it'll launch in silver and a black or a graphite, but then there'll be a really cool color. And that's intentional because that pop color drives attraction to purchase. So yeah, color is a driver of business. So yeah, very important. Okay, other questions?
Would you say that there's like a risk that this field could be taken over by AI?
I knew I was going to get this question, and I'm glad you asked. I think AI, the way that we look at it in our studio is we're leveraging the AI tools, we're experimenting with them, and we're learning basically how it can improve our process. So if it gives us more time back for creativity because AI automates some of the boring parts of what we do, amazing. And we're already seeing that it can do that. I do not fear for design as a profession because, as you can tell, it takes thousands of iterations, physical iterations, to do what we do. Okay,
Hello.
next.
Oh, sorry.
I was wondering, sorry, over here.
Over. Oh, okay,
Hi.
great. Hello.
I was wondering when you were starting your career and you had a lot of different like ideas, but maybe not like the skills to like manage a team or something like that.
Yes.
Was there a way for you to like incorporate your ideas for other people to do, or how did you go about that?
Yeah, it's a great question. I would say if there are any of you here who are entrepreneurial minded, certainly early on in your career, if you can find a company or an organization that it's sort of part of their DNA, that they'll embrace that sort of spirit that you have of coming up with ideas that maybe are beyond the core projects and briefs that you work on, then yeah, work with those people.
Thank you.
And if you can't find that, then if you're really passionate about your idea, try and find a way to make it happen and find people in the community who can maybe support you. But yeah, I'm definitely pro new business, pro new ideas. So awesome.
Thank you.
Great question.
Right
Okay.
here.
Okay. Right
I'm
here.
not-
Where's here? Oh, hello.
I'm not really sure how to phrase this question, but there's like you said, there's different fields of design, like for example, graphic design, or there's different fields. What do you think is like the most innovative field, like dominant right now? Does that make sense?
That makes sense. Yeah. So the question I think is around like what career or career paths maybe.
Yeah.
Sort of areas of sort of design discipline are maybe more creative. Honestly, I'm a bit biased. Like I just love design. It just like I wake up and I'm excited to go and sort of create the future. And so honestly, I think part of it is a mindset. So if you're really passionate about being able to have an influence on shaping what the future looks like, physically or digitally, like go for it. Okay, is there another question? Or are we out of time? I see a few hands.
Wait, hi. Hi. Over here.
Hi, where are you?
When you're hired to design products, would you say that you focus more on like user functionality or like the aesthetics and emotion that the user would feel?
Yeah, so the question was, do we focus more on functionality or aesthetics?
Yeah.
You have to do both, which is really cool. So there isn't really it's always a balance. Some products are more aesthetically driven in terms of like if there is a sort of asymmetry in that equation. But most of the time we're having to balance both. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you so much, everyone. A lot of fun.